Welcome back to the show. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. You can follow us on X, YouTube, and digperspectives.com for exclusive content. Moving through these videos quickly today, the family has a funeral that we have to attend today, and it's not going to be a fun one. So say a word, bow your head if it's in you, and if it's not, we got you. But I tell you, that's just one of those things that you have to do, and it's going to be a tough day. So I'm going to move through this as quickly as I can. $3.41 trillion market cap for crypto. The market's off 3.1. Bitcoin, 104,000 plus, 2,600 for Ethereum. XRP is $2.20. It's off 2.3 in the 24 and off 4.3 on the 7-day. Let's look at the range of price very quickly, if the computer will act right this morning. And we see we're ranging between 219 and 227 at the moment, sitting at 222. We'll keep an eye on it. Obviously, a lot happening. Let's start right here as Paulo Ardoino says Tether will be the biggest Bitcoin miner in the world. So Ardoino mentioned their AI system made for society and not for corporations. So this is getting much bigger. Now, remember, he just recently partnered with Jack Mallers with their 21 project, and they're going to mine the daylights out of Bitcoin and push it to the moon. That's what they want to do. You know, I actually saw Paulo in Vegas. I actually ran into him. I didn't get a chance to speak to him, but I certainly ran into him. And I got to be honest, I'm like looking at this guy as he's moving through the establishment we were at, and I'm thinking in my mind, I'm like, I would not even, I mean, you know, just all that Tether has had with the scrutiny of the United States government. You know, as Brad Garlinghouse said not long ago, just a handful of months ago, you know, the U.S. government's investigating Tether. They're coming after Tether. And to what degree, we don't yet know, right? But I know one thing is that, you know, that would not be a seat that I would want to sit in. I could tell you that much. But nonetheless, we'll keep it moving, and we'll see what happens here. I mean, I know the U.S. loves the position of treasuries that Tether has, right? It's just about all the rest of it, the compliance, the transparency, all of that. We'll see where it goes from there. Nonetheless, the Digital Pound Foundation has welcomed the announcement and addition of Circle to the Digital Pound Foundation. And now you have to understand that we know that Ripple is already in that foundation as well. And that's why we see here Chamath Palihapitiya say it would be genius for Ripple or Coinbase to buy Circle. He says it looks like Circle's IPO is 25 times oversubscribed, valuing the company at around $7 billion. If someone can buy it for even 12 or 13 billion, that's a steal, in my opinion, for what this business could be worth in 20 years. Circle has built the entire market structure for stablecoins. It says here, well before it will formally exist in the United States. And it says here, ahead of the Genius Bill, my prediction is Stripe, Square, Ripple, Coinbase, they all going to end up competing with each other for stablecoin dominance, which is really good for end business and businesses and consumers, and probably really bad for terminal margins. The company that builds the most efficient infrastructure and sells it for the cheapest, cost plus within the thin margin on top, will probably take this market. And that's why I believe Ripple will take that market, because a large part of Circle's profit has to go to Coinbase. And I don't think Coinbase is the best suitor to hold it, because I think we could get more done with Circle and USDC if Ripple acquires it, because of all of the networks they're beginning to proliferate on with real USD. And they could really white label USDC in my eyes, but we'd have to wait and see how that happens. Nonetheless, I still, something in my gut, still thinks Ripple will buy Circle. It just makes too much sense. We'll see what happens. There's been crazier things, but here's crazy. Let's listen to this. The Great Collateral Experiment. You guys remember we covered it, but listen.
The digital collateral operating model is materially changing the way we do business, the processes we run, the behaviors we exhibit, and the benefits we realize. We are no longer limited by the inefficiencies of the TradFi world. In addition to market participants and regulators, We look forward to engaging with industry bodies as we need to coordinate and achieve consensus around data standards, best practices, all important components to encourage interoperability and adoption. And perhaps the most important point today is that we must continue to work together as an industry to advance at a pace towards productionizing the operating model. DTCC will continue to play our role as major infrastructure provider to bring the industry together and facilitate the important debate necessary to transform the industry. We will do so by leveraging the DTCC Digital Advisory Council. We will continue to listen to their opinion and feedback and collaboratively design the right solution to reach the right outcome.
There you have it. Nadine Chakar from Securrency, right? Which was bought by Ripple and then ultimately purchased by, or actually not true. Securrency was bought by Standard Custody and Trust Company, which then in turn was bought by Ripple. And then obviously DTC sold to DTC from there. So that's the knee bone connected to the leg bone. But I'm showing you this because the stablecoin race is on. So why am I showing you this? Because this is where the rest of the world's liquidity is hiding. This is where a large mass, the larger mass of the world's liquidity is hiding, ladies and gentlemen, in the great collateral experiment. And you're going to need a very transparent stablecoin to get these things done. I played this in the first video this morning, but listen to this.
We will start voting on the Genius Act, the Stablecoin Bill, this week. I don't think we're going to complete it this week. We'll probably have to go into next week because a number of amendments will be filed. But we have worked long and hard to bring Democrats to the place where they can vote for cloture. I think we're there.
And I think we're there. So we're pushing to get the legislation, and then the stablecoin race is on. And I think the difference will be a couple of things. One, let's listen to the ETF conversation between Paul Barron and Matt Hogan that went on at XRP Las Vegas. Take a listen.
Next layer of ETFs coming through, XRP, Solana, etc. How close do you think we are on seeing those really?
I can't speak on any specific filing because, of course, we have filings live at the SEC, but I think we're making progress. You have all the indications that we're on track. What do I mean by that? We're starting to see regulated futures trade. We're starting to see the SEC consider more innovative things. We're getting to the point in the timeline where the SEC has to say yes or no. So right. I'm hopeful we'll see major unlocks. And I will say this, when I talk to institutional investors, they're excited to look beyond Bitcoin. Many of them have exposure to Bitcoin, and they're happy about that. It's a great hedge against fiat debasement. It's a great hedge against debt and deficits. But what else can blockchains do? They can do amazing things on stablecoins, tokenization, etc. And that means broadening your exposure. So I'm hopeful we'll get there this year from the SEC's perspective. And I think the institutional demand will be there for these other non-Bitcoin exposures because these are markets that people are very excited about.
Do you think there's anything that could hold this back?
Well,
listen to this. I love Matt's answer.
Washington can always fumble it at the 1 yard line. I mean, how many times have we seen that? So I'm very optimistic about the stablecoin bill, but it's not signed into law yet. That would be a significant setback. You could see the SEC be more conservative. Again, I'm very optimistic. I think the data is there. I think the rationale is there. But I've definitely learned over the years, Paul, you can't trust Washington until it's done. So I'm keeping a hawk eye on Washington to make sure they stay on the path of doing the right thing for investors and the right thing for America. I think they will, but, let's prove it before we celebrate.
Amen to that. We don't celebrate until the fish is in the boat, right? That's right. That's exactly right. But the point of that is I've just shown you the DTCC, where the largest part of the world's money and liquidity is. Now I'm showing you the conversation with ETFs, knowing there's 18 to 20 ETFs waiting, spot ETFs waiting for approval for XRP alone, let alone the other assets. Then we have the confirmation of DTC saying, yes, we use Ethereum, Ripple, and Stellar, and other networks to achieve this settlement. And this was also because they were talking about the release of SocGen, right? And the Euro CV. Just grab that real quick.
Tom Sullivan, Head of Business Development for Digital Assets at SocGen in New York. I'm excited to talk about our stablecoin that was issued by SG Forge in 2023, EuroCV, also known as Coinvertible. The Coinvertible stablecoin was issued with the main purpose of driving capital markets activities on chain. It was issued on the Ethereum blockchain in 2023, and in 2024 it became MiCA compliant. Along the way, SG Forge has established a number of milestones, including becoming one of the first banks to become a virtual asset service provider in Europe and to be able to support the MiCA rules. When MiCA went live in 2024, it was fully MiCA compliant, and it also became fully transferable on the Ethereum blockchain. Since then, it will now be available on several other blockchains, including Solana, Ripple, and Stellar. And we're looking forward to being able to use it as a means of cash and as a means of collateral using in this project.
All right, Tom.
And here's them showing how fast it can be effective for settlement.
I see that the collateral movement that you just processed has already settled, and our exposure is covered. That's amazing. You entered a movement on your side, and since we're using the same distributed ledger, I saw it update instantly within a matter of seconds, and my exposure is completely covered.
Joe, thanks so much. I mean, this has been so easy to do, and it's one of those things that when you think about all the time and effort we've spent in the past trying to find the right assets and to be able to deploy them and move them around and make sure that we have our assets reconciled, and to be able to do this so easily, it's just a breeze. Tom Sullivan.
It's a breeze, right? It's a breeze. And then there's this right here.
So, we partnered with SocGen Forge, one of the leading banks here in France, firstly around custody, but now more broadly on issuing their EuroCV stablecoin on XRPLedger.
So now we have the real USD and a EuroCV stablecoin. There's actually a couple of them. Then there's also the EuroP, right? So we have a representation, albeit private issuance or not. We have a representation in the new on-chain economy for two of the largest economies of the world to begin to start working in tandem together. Oh, it gets better. It gets better. And then we have this. Remember when Brad Garlinghouse said this? What's confusing to me is, why do we need 10 different US dollar stable coins or 20? Brad Garlinghouse, when you could have had one real USD that's highly compliant and regulated. Brad Kimes. Take a listen to here.
I'm not sure is the short answer. I think stable coins as a category, I think, have a role to play, particularly in domestic settlement. I haven't yet seen exactly where the U.S. is going to come out here. Other countries around the world clearly are doing more ahead of the U.S. and how they're kind of approaching central bank issued digital assets. What's confusing to me is, why do we need 10 different US dollar stable coins or 20?
There you have it. And that's why something in my gut says we're going to end up seeing Ripple by Circle. That's where I'm at, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Nonetheless, very quickly here, listen to Sal Gerberetti, who was from Tucrium, on stage with us to cover Kevin Maloney, who couldn't be there this year, but still remained a very, very, very nice sponsor. So we're very appreciative of them. And we will see them in 26, I'm sure. But nonetheless, listen to Sal and what he says as he refers to Ripple as and XRP and the new Hidden Road deal as the new Wall Street.
Store value. And I think that other cryptos, including XRP, have a use case, a legitimate use case. I think XRP's is a wonderful working model. I think that it's only going to get better. They made an acquisition today where I believe they bought a prime broker, and that's really big news, because that means there'll be almost instantaneous settlement across all asset classes inside that prime broker. It'll be a wonderful start to the new Wall Street, that's based on blockchain, that moves really quickly. No more 3 days for wire transfers. We're gonna have instant money, and that's good.
Yeah, and you mentioned
store value.
There
and
you
I think
have it.
That other crypto.
And I think Sal's got it right. I had some great talks and conversations with him. Very, very smart guy. And if you remember back in the day when Marcus Treacher, who came from Swift, right, and HSBC over to Ripple for a lot of years to help connect everything, says it was always about connecting, scaling into infinity. Listen, this is remarkable.
We've configured our technology in a way that really fits the problem of cross-border payments liquidity very, very well. So for the cross-border payment challenge, we've created an open internet model. We call the idea interledger. So interledger, like the internet, supports our Ripple technology globally. And that model does not require a single universal common blockchain. It requires a very open blockchain interconnectivity. And that means that the volume is theoretically infinite. It's like the internet never runs out of capacity. Elements do, but the internet still works because it's inherently decentralized. So Ripple is the same. So we have a decentralized model which is infinitely scalable. Supporting that, we have our liquidity proposition, which uses XRP, and that's a classic blockchain. But XRP was designed from the outset for transacting. So unlike the likes of Bitcoin, which is like very slow and slows down as you continue to build on volume, the XRP model is very, very, very high speed and very high capacity. So the liquidity part is very adequately served by the XRP model. The wider network we're creating, where if you're really going to create something of value for 7 billion people in the world or 9 billion by 2050.
There you have it, and that's the goal and the vision it's always been. And as Brad Garlinghouse said on stage just recently at XRP Las Vegas, take a listen to hear the new financial system.
One thing I learned, I was in Silicon Valley for 24 years. The one thing you learn is tech is not a zero-sum game. We're going to grow the pie. And David Schwartz was up here yesterday talking about rewiring the entire banking system and what this looks like maybe in 10 years or 20 years. We underestimate how big that change is and how profound it is. And we get there by being collaborative and working together, not against each other. Sorry, I'll shut up.
No, you keep that coming, Brad Garlinghouse, no doubt about it. Listen, this is where we're going, and we're on track to get there. The only thing we need to make sure of now is, as Matt Hogan had said so wonderfully, we just have to make sure that Congress doesn't fumble this thing 4th and 1. Not financial advice from me or anyone else. I'll catch all of you on the next one.